My brother always told me, you'll never succeed. But after I built my own business and acquired the company he worked for, his first phone call was to apologize. My brother always told me, you'll never succeed. He said it again the morning I packed my desk into a cardboard box after being laid off, smiling just enough for it to sting. Maybe this is life telling you to stop chasing impossible dreams, Emma. I carried that box through the parking lot without answering him, but inside my head, yes, inside my head, something had quietly changed. I remember driving home through the suburbs outside Minneapolis with a paper cup of cold coffee balanced in the passenger seat. The traffic lights blurred together. The radio kept playing songs I didn't hear. Losing my job wasn't the hardest part. Hearing my own brother sound almost relieved. That hurt more. Ryan had always believed confidence was louder than kindness. Growing up, he was the little league star whose trophies covered our parents' fireplace. I was the quiet girl who organized school fundraisers and balanced the family budget before I was old enough to drive. Every accomplishment of mine came with a comparison. Ryan scored the winning run. Ryan got promoted. Ryan bought a bigger house. Somehow, there was always another reason I came second. Even after college. When I landed my first operations job, Ryan laughed. So, spreadsheets are your big dream? When I earned my MBA at night while working full-time, he shrugged. Degrees don't make leaders. I stopped trying to prove him wrong. I said, I simply kept showing up. The layoff happened because our logistics company merged with another corporation. Entire departments disappeared overnight. Hundreds of us walked out carrying identical cardboard boxes while security guards politely held the doors. Ryan worked for a regional manufacturing company across town. He called that evening. I heard what happened. I'll figure something out. You always say that. I usually do. He sighed. Emma, you're smart enough to get a normal job. Stop dreaming about owning a business. I stared through my kitchen window into the darkness. The refrigerator hummed softly behind me. Outside, snow drifted across the empty street. I wasn't dreaming. He laughed. Sure. After we hung up, I couldn't sleep. 3 a.m. arrived quietly. The house felt enormous. I opened the refrigerator without needing anything, just watching the little lights spill across the floor. Strangely, that's when the idea finally settled. Not suddenly. Not dramatically. Calmly. I'd spent 15 years solving supply chain problems for other companies. Maybe it was time to solve them for my own. The first year nearly broke me. Banks rejected my loan applications. One investor smiled politely before saying, manufacturing isn't exactly a place for first-time female founders. Another suggested I hire a man as the public face of the company. I smiled. Then walked away. I rented a tiny warehouse on the edge of Minneapolis with peeling paint and unreliable heating. During winter, I'd wear gloves while answering emails. Some mornings I swept snow away from the loading dock myself before delivery trucks arrived. There were days I questioned everything. Days I wondered whether Ryan had been right. But every time doubt appeared. Another customer called. Another contract arrived. Another employee trusted me enough to leave a stable job and join my tiny company. Slowly, very slowly, we became profitable. 5 employees became 20. 20 became 100. Hospitals relied on us. Food distributors expanded contracts. School districts renewed agreements year after year. I stopped measuring success by revenue. I measured it by the people whose mortgages depended on Friday payroll. Ryan rarely asked about my business. At family dinners, he'd dominate conversations about corporate promotions and executive retreats. Mom would ask me politely, "How's your little company?" "It's growing." "That's nice." Then Ryan would interrupt with another story. Eventually, I let them. Silence became easier. 5 years later, my assistant walked into my office holding a confidential acquisition file. "You should see this." The logo on the cover made my heart pause. It was Ryan's employer. Their stock had collapsed. Debt overwhelmed them. The board wanted buyers before bankruptcy proceedings began. I read every page twice. Not because I wanted revenge. Because the company employed nearly 600 people. Families. Retirements. Health insurance. Lives. Our board meeting lasted 6 hours. Some directors wanted only the equipment. Others wanted the client list. I wanted something different. "I'll buy the whole company," I said. The room became silent. Keep every manufacturing facility open. One board member frowned. The numbers don't support that. Not today. I looked around the table. They will. The acquisition closed 3 months later. News spread across Minneapolis overnight. The headlines focused on the financial turnaround. They didn't mention Ryan. I wondered if he'd already heard. The phone rang at 8:17 the next morning. His name appeared on my screen. For a moment, I simply looked at it, then answered. Neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, I owe you an apology. His voice sounded smaller than I had ever heard. I spent years telling you that you'd never succeed. I leaned back in my office chair watching snow fall beyond the windows. I remember. I thought confidence meant always being right. He laughed bitterly. Turns out, I wasn't. I closed my eyes. My company bought yours because the people deserved another chance. I know. Another silence. I also know you're technically my boss now. I smiled despite myself. For the record. I earned that one. He chuckled quietly. Yeah. Then his voice cracked. I was jealous. That wasn't the twist I expected. I thought Mom and Dad admired me because I always looked successful. He took a slow breath. When you started your business, I kept waiting for you to fail. Why? Because if you succeeded. He stopped speaking. Then I'd have to admit I underestimated you. Everything suddenly made sense. Every joke. Every sarcastic comment. Every careless prediction. They hadn't come from confidence. They had come from fear. I've been carrying that around for years, he whispered. I'm tired. So am I. A week later he requested a meeting at headquarters. Not because I required it. Because he wanted to face me. He walked into my office wearing the same nervous expression I'd once worn around him. I don't want special treatment. You won't get it. I wouldn't respect it if I did. I nodded toward the chair. Good. We spent 2 hours discussing operations, production schedules, and employee retention. Not once did we mention childhood. Not once did we revisit old arguments. Professional respect quietly replaced old competition. Months later, while reviewing annual performance reports, I promoted Ryan. Not because he was my brother. Because his team consistently outperformed every other department. When I handed him the promotion letter, he stared at it for several seconds. You checked every metric yourself? Of course. He smiled. This feels better than if you'd simply given it to me. It should. That evening I drove home through familiar suburban streets with a fresh cup of coffee warming my hands. The house was quiet when I walked inside. I opened the refrigerator for a splash of milk, and the soft light reminded me of that lonely night years earlier when I had decided to bet on myself. Success hadn't erased every painful memory. It had simply made them smaller than the future waiting ahead. Ryan's apology hadn't changed the past either. But it had changed what came next. As dawn slowly colored the Minnesota sky outside my kitchen window, I realized the greatest victory wasn't buying the company where my brother worked. It was discovering that I no longer needed anyone else's belief to trust my own. And somehow, that felt like the richest success of all. If this story inspired you or reminded you to never let someone else's doubts define your future, please like this video and subscribe for more powerful stories of courage, resilience, and hope. Your support helps us share these meaningful journeys with more people. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next story.